Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al, week 7 on FanDuel, and we're going to take a first look at a tournament lineup to see how we can do. This is obviously a first look. It's only Tuesday when I'm recording this. This is definitely not going to be a final lineup. We're more worried about how we're going to approach the philosophy around building a tournament lineup and seeing what we can do with the salaries where they're at, as opposed to saying this is definitely a lineup that you should play this Sunday. If you're the type of person that wants to copy paste a lineup, this ain't the kiddie game's down the street. That's not what we're here for. We're here to try and teach you the philosophy on how to win. And based on a tweet that I retweeted the other day from TJ Hernandez, friend of the show. TJ's a great guy, lives here in Southern California. I really like the dude, really funny, very dry. He tweeted out looking at the stacks and the secondary stacks and third stacks that have been on top of the tournament winning lineups each of the first 6 weeks of the season. And this is just the way. You know, with The Mandalorian coming out with a new season soon on Disney Plus, make sure that you subscribe to Disney Plus because you get a free ESPN Plus membership that you can use to read my Best Buys article every single Thursday of the football season on ESPN. All right, whatever. Corny. I don't care. Don't care. Go read the article. Anyway, we're going to look at how to build those stacks, how to build those secondary stacks, and see what we can do here on FanDuel in week 7. Thank you guys for being here. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, make sure you ring the notifications bell, leave me a reply down below, go look at the recap video on the second channel, click some goddamn thing, and let's just get moving. So now I gotta pause because my balance is up there. Sponsor banner. Let me go back here. So we're looking over here at FanDuel, and we're going to start at quarterback, obviously. You guys know which quarterback I'm going to use because I already put him in the thumbnail, but let's look at some other guys. We go through top stacks every single Thursday. We look at like 5 stacks that I really like. Some of them are going to be chalky, some are going to be contrarian, and we spend more time focusing on those stacks and the bring back plays. For those of you who don't know what a bring back play is, if I'm going to stack Patrick Mahomes with 1 or 2 of the targets that are on his team, I'm going to make sure that I have 1 player on Denver at least to bring back that play on the other side. Because if Mahomes stacks do well and this game is reasonably close, it is also considerable that somebody on the other side will have themselves a really good day. So that is the philosophy behind a bring back. The other philosophy is, if you're filling out 8 spots, there's 9 including the defense, but like if you're considering hitting an 8-team parlay, it's much more difficult, or an 8-player parlay is much more difficult than saying, okay, I'm going to fill 4 of those spots from one team, quarterback, 2 pass catchers, a bring back, and then a secondary stack. You really only have to hit 2 things. Hitting 2 things much easier than hitting 6 or 7. So you're kind of trying to shorten the path from you to success, where you don't always have to pick the exact right best in slot player to kind of make things happen. So Patrick Mahomes in play every single week, right? Even against the Bills, he didn't have a fantastic game, still put up 20 fantasy points. And they get him involved a lot inside the 5 and inside the 10 because they just don't pound the ball with their running backs once they get in close. They run those jet sweeps with the bloop pass that counts as a passing touchdown for him a lot once they get in there. He's got Travis Kelce, one of the best red zone and end zone targets that exists in the game. Josh Allen, I would consider skinny stacks against the Jets. I just don't see that many players on the Jets that you can bring back with. I'm fine if you want to bring back with 1 player, and by skinny stack, I mean Josh Allen with 1 of his players and nobody on the other team. If you want to bring it back with Crowder, you want to bring it back with Jeff Smith, you want to bring it back with somebody that you think might have a good day on the Jets, fine. But realistically speaking, the Jets have not been a good team all season, defensively. They've gotten blown out a ton. JJ Zacharias, another friend of the show, tweeted something out this morning that said every team in the NFL has at least 10 carries or something, or 10 plays inside the 5-yard line. The Jets have 2. They're just not in a position to score all that much, and they're bad. Russ Wilson has been outstanding this year. The Let Russ Cook campaign in full swing, and coming off of a bye week against Arizona. Arizona's been a little stingier defensively this season than they have been the last year and the year before. So it's going to be interesting to see where they can go. Seattle has not been stingy, especially to opposing running backs. Looking over at rotogrinders, at the free tool that they have over there, the defense versus position tool, I'm sorting by allowed points on DraftKings on the season. 2 wide receivers, and the Seahawks have allowed an obscene amount of points to opposing wide receivers, 21.5 receptions per game. DraftKings full PPR, FanDuel half PPR. They're allowing a lot of touchdowns per game, a lot of scoring per game. And this game has a total of 55, and it's expected to be close. And the way that you beat Seattle is by passing to the outside. There really aren't any tight ends on Kyler's offense that we're looking at. They throws to mainly 2 guys that when they're on the field. Deep shots to the opposing wide receiver, and then everything underneath that goes to DeAndre Hopkins. So if Kirk is in, it's going to be Kirk, and if Kirk is out, it's going to be Isabella. Some other cheaper guys that we can look at. Deshaun Watson isn't cheap, but he's cheap respectively. He's 1,000 cheaper than Mahomes and has put up 3 outstanding games in a row. Now gets a Green Bay defense that has not been stopping much. Granted, you usually want to play running backs against that Green Bay defense, but Deshaun Watson is just too efficient. And when he's not playing Pittsburgh, Baltimore, or at Kansas City or Minnesota, he tends to put up really big games. So he's in play. Herbert's going to be very popular this week going against Jacksonville, a streamer for us. It's who you want to play quarterbacks against, is this Jacksonville defense. Gardner Minshew against the Chargers defense, fine, but I like the Chargers defense a little bit better. They're quite pricey on FanDuel though. Matthew Stafford, if you're looking for a bounce back week against the Atlanta Falcons, if we go to the quarterback tool here, Atlanta allowing 5 more points per game or 4 more points per game than any other team to opposing quarterbacks. Right up there at the top. If you want to go for quarterback scoring, just stream quarterbacks against Atlanta and you would have been successful so far this year. I'm going to go very simply, and I'm going to make this about the stack and the bring back. And FanDuel's so very friendly in terms of salary that we're able to build stacks very easily. I know that chat here on Twitch, their favorite thing to do is to take the stacks that we have, or take the lineup that I do in this first look and try and plug it in on DraftKings and see how much over it is. So if we're going to focus on stacks from this game, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are in play this week with as many games that have totals at 49 or all the way up to 56, that like there's a lot of stacking and bring backing opportunities for us. It's a great tournament slate from my perspective. So if we look at the wide receivers, I'm not going to stack running backs on either of these teams with the quarterback. They would be good contrarian plays, good leverage plays off of the passing games if you want. I'm going to do something really ridiculous. I'm just going to play DeAndre Hopkins, who's amazing. Christian Kirk, who unfortunately for me had a big game on Monday night. I was hoping that he would just kind of meander around, but he caught a bloop pass for a touchdown and he caught a long pass for a touchdown. And we're going to bring it back with DK Metcalf because we can, because it's so darn easy on FD. Let's plug in just a random defense. We'll use like a 4K defense. Anybody that's around 4K, bam, don't care. Okay, so they're in, giving us our normal salary remaining per player. So we've got our stack, our double stack, and our bring back here, attacking Seattle's defense with DeAndre Hopkins, who's been amazing. And as inefficient as Kyler was against, you don't have targets yet, but like he had like, I forget exactly, I mean, it was like 9. He did not complete very many passes to DeAndre Hopkins. He kind of salvaged it a little bit at the end. I expect he's going to get back to normal, as we can see that on Monday night, he really only completed, and again, they don't have it. It was like 9 of 20 something passes. It was ridiculous. It was bad. Christian Kirk caught the big ones. Didn't have a deluge of targets. Wasn't flooded with like 9 or 10 targets. He had a normal amount. Caught a couple of them. They were both touchdowns. That's going to kind of be his role. He's a tournament only play. He's not going to get you a lot of volume, but FanDuel is more centralized around touchdown upside. Volume is nice. Touchdowns win you tournaments on FanDuel. DraftKings, you can depend a little bit more on the volume to get you there, especially with the lower dollar players. You got to have your low dollar players get into the end zone on FanDuel if you're going to win. DK Metcalf as good as anybody in terms of game to game volume, in terms of targets. In terms of his big splash ability, nobody gets targeted downfield as much or more than him, and led the league last year in end zone targets. He was not targeted the first 3-4 weeks in the end zone as much, and then that's going to regress because that's just what his role is on this team. So you're going to see his end zone targets climb. If you're mathy, like Mike Clay, you would say that he was touchdown lucky the first 3 weeks of the season, he should not have had that many touchdowns because his usage did not show that he should have had that many touchdowns. He was scoring from deep a lot. But knowing how they utilize DK Metcalf on Seattle, and that when they do get close, they are going to be targeting him a lot in the end zone, as opposed to Lockett, who's targeted a lot in the end zone as well. DK Metcalf led the league last year, and against Dallas, all the end zone targets went to Tyler Lockett. So we saw that kind of get back to normal against Minnesota. They're now coming off the bye. I love this trio. Let's get to some running backs that I think that we can look at to make this tournament lineup. Now, remember, we're going to try and find a secondary stack in here, and I want to do it with teams that are really, really bad against the specific positions that they're at. A lot of people are going to be on Alvin Kamara, and for good reason. So for the sake of building this tournament lineup, I'm probably not going to utilize Alvin Kamara in this lineup. Last year, Alvin Kamara suffered from a really bad, based on his usage, a really bad outcome on touchdowns. He was touchdown unlucky last year. So looking at the first 3 weeks of the season, when he had 6 touchdowns, 7 through the first 4 weeks of the season, he's not going to score 2 touchdowns a week. He could this week, especially considering the matchup, which is why he's going to probably be the most popular running back on the slate on both sites, in cash games for sure, and probably in tournaments as well. But at the price, 9,300, I don't think that he's a must-have in tournaments. And in fact, it's very possible that you should be leveraging the field against all of the people that are going to be on him, because there's plays that are 2 to 3K cheaper who do project to get a lot of volume. We have Mike Davis, who is on the other side of that game, and I expect will be way more utilized in the passing game than he was last week. So over 7,700 and a 19 to 24 point expectation from him on a usual basis when he's been the starter. And all the rushing usage that he's getting, especially inside the 5, he's basically getting CMC type usage. And until CMC comes back, we're going to just use Mike Davis in a lot of lineups. Chris Carson, if you want to leverage off of the passing game there, but I'm not doing that in this lineup. Joe Mixon, we're going to have to monitor his injury status as the week goes along, but the usage was very, very encouraging, even though he was very, very unlucky against Indy. He had 18 carries in this game. That one I know. He did have 2 catches, including a dropped touchdown pass in the end zone, and probably should have had 2 or 3 touchdowns on this game. And he left the game with injury, was questionable return, and came back. I'm of the mindset that currently 25 touches is about what we should expect every week from Joe Mixon, barring injury moving forward. And they're not going to be favored in most games. They are not favored in this game. Looking down here at my sheet that has the spreads. The Browns are 3.5 point favorites, but this game is expected to score a lot of points with the total at 51.5. I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt, another player who saw diminished volume last week because he got game flowed out of here. Cleveland wants to run the ball, right? Stefanski wants to establish the run as much as possible. They are going to give the ball to 2 guys. One is Nick Chubb, and he's on IR. The other one is Kareem Hunt. When both of them are healthy, they're going to manage about 70% of Cleveland's rush attempts. They're 1 and 1A in terms of talent, in terms of their rank on this team. The talent discrepancy between Kareem Hunt and the next best running back, Johnson, on this team is not now 1 and 1A, it's 1 and 2. And the volume in that first game against Indy showed that, where he handled 60+% of the running back rushes, also had 4 targets. Cincinnati, a much worse defense than both Pittsburgh and Indy. I think that this is a great spot at 7,100, 2,200 less than Kamara, 2,400 less than Ezekiel Elliott. Give me as much as I can handle here. I'm going to go a little bit off the reserve. Well, no, I'm not going to do that yet. No, yes, I am. So I need another running back here. And I'm sure you guys are going to vomit in your mouth when I say it. But this is a tournament. And I think it's going to be less than 10% for Todd Gurley. At home, favored. I'd say he's got a reasonable expectation of at least approaching 20 touches in this game. Against a defense, if we use the rotogrinders tool, there's a link down below if you want to sign up for rotogrinders, rotogrinders.com/smizzlife. We sort by the most points allowed. Atlanta's giving up a bunch of points to opposing running backs. So is Detroit. And if we sort by yards against, Houston, Dallas, Detroit Lions, giving up 123 rushing yards per game on 23.5 rush attempts per game to opposing running backs. This is a good landing spot. With a guy who is arguably a 5-box running back this week, involved in the passing game, is going to get the inside the 5 carries. One of the higher volume backs in the league right now through the first, third of the season. And for all the reasons that are stuck in our head, our recency bias, we don't want to play Todd Gurley. Well, he's played one really, really, really soft defense against the run. He's played 2, considering Green Bay and Carolina, and he's got 3 touchdowns in those games, 18.8 fantasy points, 23 fantasy points on FanDuel in those 2 games. Dallas, you tend to attack through the air. Seattle, same thing, attack through the air. Minnesota, that's a tough run defense. He gets a soft landing spot here at home, favored. Should approach 20 touches inside the 5 and work in the passing game. And I think that he's not going to have a high percentage on him, because everybody's going to talk themselves out of playing Todd Gurley. So I'm going to talk myself into playing Todd Gurley, which means I need a secondary stack, which is going to lead us to our tight ends. There's a lot of guys at tight end that you can play this week. If you want to go look at the DraftKings first look, I go into them in a little bit more detail. We'll talk about them in top stacks as well, and definitely on Friday on the Lineup Builder show. I kind of want to wrap this video up for you guys. You guys like a nice little tight 14 to 17 minute FanDuel video every single week. That's where you guys like to sit. TJ Hawkinson is a good tournament play because he's not going to have a lot of percent on him. People aren't going to click him. He's a little bit higher price. We're paying up to be contrarian, but his end zone usage has been phenomenal this year at tight end. He is a candidate to explode on any week. And by explode, I mean like 4 or 5 catches for 60 to 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's exploding for a tight end. That's kind of what we got from Burton last week at a much lower price. And I get the push and pull here from Gurley and Hawkinson, attacking each team's weakness that they don't seem to be able to stop. That leaves us with 6,300 for a final spot here. And I want to attack somebody. I want to have a late game hammer. I need to find somebody that's 6,300 and down. David Johnson, if you want to attack with him based on the fact that Green Bay has been really, really bad against the run. If you don't think David Johnson's cooked, fine. CeeDee Lamb, if you want to go with the fantasy carnival and think that Andy Dalton can get him the ball, great. Josh Kelly, 6,200. I don't think that he's the guy. I think that Justin Jackson's the guy right now. With Austin Eckler out, we get another home favored running back with a 20 touch expectation at 6,100 in the late game. All the inside the 5 carries that we can handle being taken away from the rookie once Jackson came back. Kelly did look pretty good. He had some fumbling issues, doesn't really do great in pass pro. In the first game that we saw last week, and it was the Thursday night game, we saw that he was basically being used like a bell cow. And he's only 6,100 here against Jacksonville, who's giving up a ton of points to opposing teams. And again, home favored, 20 touches inside the 5 and inclusion in the pass game. Give me Kyler Murray with a double stack. Bring it back with DK Metcalf and all of his touchdown upside. Todd Gurley to TJ Hawkinson is our secondary stack, and 2 high volume running backs in good positions against bad defenses, and plug in any defense that you want for 4,200 or less. That's the exercise. That's how we go about building tournament lineups. I hope that you guys take some of this information to heart and don't just try and copy pasta the lineup. It's not the way that you win at DFS. You got to actually learn the game. Easiest way to keep learning the game, surround yourself by people or with people that want to get better at the game. Also, there's a link down below to the Discord. Jump in there. We'll see you. Come join us on Twitch. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
He's a legend.